Well, here we are again. As per the usual sign on. Today is Thursday, January 20th, 2:37 a.m. and this is an experiment episode 37. It's been a few weeks since the last episode of this. Last one of these I made was December 28th. So it's almost close to a month, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Closer to 3 weeks at least. A lot has happened. Part of the reason I haven't made one of these in a hot minute is because I got COVID. About a week and a half ago, a little over a week ago. So I was sick in bed for a lot of the time. I'm still kind of getting over it, but I'm starting to get my energy back. I'm starting to get my drive back. I'm starting to, do all the stuff that I was on track to do before I got COVID. My dog is barking for attention, I guess. And so naturally I'm back to this part of my routine is brain dumping here in this experiment. So, you know, for the imaginary future audience, if you happen to watch this, the whole point of this is I asked myself what would happen if I turned YouTube into my own personal video diary, basically, and documented all the things going on in my life and shared it publicly, but didn't promote it just to see what would happen if anybody found it, if ever, and if anybody ever did find it, what happens then. So that's what I'm here for in video diary. Something's been eating at me for quite a while now that I hadn't quite put my finger on, that I hadn't quite realized something was even eating at me at all. And it really came to a point tonight. I was listening to a song that was released by someone that I used to play in a band with, Will Wood. And the song is called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. And basically, the chorus is, I hate sex, I hate drugs, and I hate rock and roll, and I hate music. And the lack of self-control, which I get that. I don't really have problems with that last one anymore. Although I will say when I was in that band, I did. And I resonated with that because I've gotten to that point in my life and I've become disillusioned to the whole entertainment industry and living in that world. And it's like I spent the words in this song were like so like spot on. I spent all my time to end up in this place and I think I'd rather leave. And like, and I have a gift for it, quote unquote gift. That's another line in the song is it a gift, or rather it's not a gift if you have to pay for it. And the way I interpret that, or at least for me, is that there is a price that you have to pay that comes with the territory, that comes with the gift. There's a trade-off. There's still some amount of work that went into developing whatever talents I have when it comes to music and the entertainment industry and all of that stuff. And kind of what I'd realized through listening to this song and reflecting back on my life and where I've been and what I've been through and where I'm at and where I'm headed, what really started to sink into me, or rather surface, I guess, was this grim awareness that things are never going to get as exciting as they've been before. They're never going to be that exciting again. And I've peaked when it comes to excitement in life. And now I'm on the backside of that. And I don't know how I feel about it. And that's not to say that there's nothing to look forward anymore. I don't mean it that way. I don't mean that, it's all downhill from here and nothing else good is going to happen or nothing interesting is going to happen or anything like that. I'm referring to this visceral sense of like heightened states of arousal, and and all of that came from the crazy hype with a lot of the experiences, like the turmoil and the chaos and the instability and toxic like lifestyle stuff, and just all the craziness. It gives you a certain edge in life. It gives a certain edge. I've had it. I've felt it. I know what it is, and it's not there anymore. And as I think about this, I'm reminded of the last time I went off the rails. Because that's exactly what happened. Life had gotten boring. Life had gotten boring. I was, I'd cleaned up my act. This was my mid-20s. It's almost like it's almost like I'm going through like this same cycle again. Like the pattern is repeating itself. Like I see it. And this was what happened in my mid-20s, right? I went off the rails at some point, and I was like, I am kind of like losing my mind here. I need to go see a doctor. And when I saw a doctor, was re-diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a new diagnosis. I was put on these medications, and they seemed to help. And I started getting my life together, and things were on track. I went back to school. I was doing, pretty well. And then I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, there was that I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy with. I was going to school for a degree that I didn't need to, pursue jobs in the field that I wanted in. I was going to school for sound engineering, and like it's like you don't need a degree in that to get jobs and to do the work. So there was that, and and ultimately, like, one of the things too is I never healed any of my trauma up till that point. I hadn't really gotten down to like what some of the root cause issues are, but I I broke up with my girlfriend because it was a relationship that I wasn't happy with, and along with that, reverted back to drinking, smoking, just generally like bad habits to cope with the emotional distress and mental distress from the relationship ending, working, in a job that wasn't compatible with my school, that ended up putting me in a compromise, even more mentally and emotionally compromised position, which led to even more substance abuse issues, and it was just a downward spiral. And then there was the band, which everything in that was, toxic, and it was just crazy. It was a downward spiral until everything fell apart, and I left. And then I started rebuilding again, and then I went back to therapy, and actually did some trauma work. So I'm in a much different place now than I was last time. But ultimately, all of that to say, in all of the craziness, it was exciting. I don't know what's going to happen next. It was like like a survival thing. It's like, what do I have to, I don't quite know how to explain it other than that. But even still, the substance use, as I used to like to call it. I didn't, because I didn't have an addiction problem. I just like getting really fucked up. Despite how unhealthy it was, how toxic it was. And can I move this down? Not really. Okay. That's fine. but it was exciting all the same. It may not have been healthy, but at least it was fun, kind of. It was, and I romanticize it, looking back, like it was, like it was cool. But I mean, I was also a tormented soul during those times. And now I'm kind of faced with that reality that it's never going to be interesting again, or it's never going to be exciting. There's no adrenaline pumping through. There's no, states of heightened awareness and arousal as a result of constantly feeling like there's some sort of threat. It's just, life is boring. And and I know that that's like healthy and good, right? That's how you get shit done, is living a boring life. And I feel like that's one of the things that I never wanted to happen. I never wanted to lead a boring life. I never wanted to get to the point where I felt like life was boring, because if life is boring, then what's the point, right? So it's like I need to bring excitement into my life. It's one of the things that needs to happen. But going and partying isn't a good way of doing that. And I've been feeling this tug on me so hard. Been feeling this tug so hard to go drink and smoke. I haven't felt it this strong in years. Years. It's every day. I mean, especially since COVID. Part of it is since COVID. Since I got COVID, I should say. Watching movies and stuff and TV shows, and I don't know, it's working downtown again. I'm working back down on Broadway. I work until 3 a.m. when I do work down there. I go into work at 6 p.m. and I get off at 3 a.m. I'm getting like sucked back into that life. I worked so long and so hard to get there, and then once I'm there, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'd rather not be here, and I'd rather not be doing this. I'd rather be doing something somewhere else. It's a complex emotion. I spent most of my life working to be able to do what I do now. I mean, the fact that I can go get an audio job anywhere, sit down in front of a board with a band and do the job and like be fine. It's like not anyone can do that. Even like audio, people that are into audio, like you take your average run of the mill studio person that runs like Pro Tools tutorials on YouTube or whatever, you stick them in a live sound situation. You got a live band, you have to sound check, get them rolling in 25 minutes and make sure the entire system's, checked, and like everything's solid. Like, they wouldn't know what the fuck to do. It's because of all of the time, the dues that I paid being able to get this far. And I've, if I wanted to keep going on this path, I'd still have so much to learn to be able to do some of the stuff that, bigger cats are doing. I don't want to do that. But, in the world of audio engineers, I would say top 20% at least is where I'm at. of all the people that say I run sound, I'm a sound engineer. Like, if you cover the whole scope, I'm probably in the top 20%. Because there's also a lot of people that, say they're audio engineers that, have a laptop and a microphone and interface, and they're sitting in their, mom's basement recording themselves singing or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's a stark difference between producing songs in GarageBand or Logic or whatever, and being able to tech a live show. Stark difference. And I can do the studio stuff too, which is the thing. That's the easy shit. Studio is easy compared to live. It doesn't matter though. Because ultimately what matters is I'm fucking good at it and I don't want to use it for anything. And it's like, it does. It seems like a waste. People would say that's such a waste of, raw talent. I guess you could say it's I wouldn't say that it's a gift for me, but, I'm also really good at rolling blunts. Right? Like, is it a waste of perfectly good, skill to not roll blunts because I don't smoke weed anymore? Kind of don't. Not a stoner, at least, like I used to be. I like getting intoxicated. I mean, it's like, I do. Like smoking cigarettes. It makes me feel a certain way. There's a certain edge that it pulls out of me. That while it's not while it's not a healthy habit, and it can, it there's an energy that it pulls out that can be somewhat useful. I don't understand it. It doesn't quite make sense. Same thing with weed, There's a certain energy that it pulls out of me. Not pulls out, but that like brings to the surface that and alcohol. They do something for me. And I've been getting the pull so strong from those things. And I don't know what to do about it. I mean, you would think the obvious answer is to not just don't act on it. I was going over this with myself the other day about why I the whole alcohol thing and not drinking. That I get it's why does it, for me it's like, why does it matter so much? Because it's like a badge of honor that I get to wear. Hey, look at me. I'm in the top 1% of the population when it comes to not consuming alcohol because I don't do it. Look at me. Let me celebrate the fact that I don't drink. I'm better than all of you because you drink and I don't. I'm so much better. I'm superior because look at me. I don't drink. That's what it does for me. If I'm completely honest, it's not about staying away from the, voodoo sauce or whatever. And, or, and I tell myself that it's because I, think clearer when I don't drink, which is true. And I haven't tested it either to see what would happen if I drank now. But, I give all of these reasons, why I don't do it. Saves me money. I have more money when I don't drink. Can spend that money on other stuff that actually matters. I'm not wasting money, not screwing up my energy flow and all of that stuff, which is all important and it's all good. But at the end of the day, when you really get down to it, what it does for me is the most important thing is it gives me a sense of superiority over other people. Now, whether that's a true or false sense of superiority is a completely other discussion. But that's what it does for me. So then I have to ask myself the question, does that even make sense? Is that a good reason to not do it? Then it raises a question, why do I have to feel superior to other people? Why is it that I feel like I have to be so good? Why is it that I have to be such a, top performer? Why do I have to be one of the people that, is... Why does that matter so much? Why do I want to be superior to other people? Why do I want to feel that way? Why is it so damn important to be better than other people? To be able to say that I'm better than other people. As I said that, I saw the time on the recording say 22:22. So there's numbers there. Let's look that up while we're doing this. So I looked it up, and what it said was that 222 is, or 22:22 is a sign of equilibrium and peace and stability and all of that stuff. And that I'm about to enter, a time of peace and equilibrium and all of that. Or, but it can also be that that's something that is important for me to find, is a sense of peace and equilibrium and all of that. And one of the things that I think about when it comes to drinking, or rather not drinking, is that like I was never an alcoholic. Like if there's one thing that's true is that I was never an alcoholic. I was never addicted to alcohol. I abused the shit out of it sometimes. Sure. That did happen. But even in some of those moments, like, I was always able to dial it back. So I never had an alcohol. I don't want to say I didn't have an alcohol problem, but I wasn't addicted, right? I wasn't one of those people where, well, depends on at what point in my life we're talking about. Depends on what point in my life we're talking about. But I can say that when I stopped drinking, my life got better. So there's that. Could it be coincidence? Maybe. Is it cause and result? Hard to say. I mean, I'm sure it was a catalyst amongst other things. It gave me a bit of a reset. But I just like there's something that I just miss about going out to a bar with some people that I know, sharing some drinks, just telling stories, shooting some pool or whatever. Or even just like getting goofy. Just getting like silly. Just getting like silly drunk. Not like wasted and all that, but just like silly. And that's not something that I can achieve sober. That's like the truth. I can still be fun and, tell jokes and all of that. But I mean, I was fun when I was drunk. And I have to ask myself, am I rationalizing me trying to go back because I'm in a period of stress and duress, right? Because that's when it happens, right? That's what I have to ask myself is, why am I getting these cravings? And if I'm getting cravings, like where's that coming from? What's it gonna do for me? Like if I just imagine for a second going out and having a silly night, getting drunk with some people, and what? And what? Then what? Doesn't make no sense. Go get a pack of cigarettes and smoke one. And it's almost like it's not to take an edge off. That's what it feels like. It's like there's some sort of belief in my mind, some sort of belief that, if I don't do this stuff, my life is going to be better. And I mean, I guess, yes, it is. But also that there's something floating around in there that's like, if I do this, my whole life is going to fall apart. Which there's no evidence for that. You know, the other thing. Oh, what was I going to say? It's not that it's taking an edge off. It's that it's reintroducing an edge to me. There's an edge that I get from that. And I don't want to say it's that it makes me sharper. because that's not what it is. It's like this primal energy almost that I just miss. I used to describe it this way of, before I quit doing all this stuff the first time, you know, what'd I say? What was it? Feeding the beast to keep it at bay. The idea that as long as I gave it what it wanted, so to say, then it wouldn't throw a tantrum, basically. And it's kind of like I've been starving that beast. Part of me that just craves all of that stuff. And it's like if you starve it long enough, does it die? This is one good question. If you starve the beast long enough, does it die? Or does it break out of its cage? Because if I'm given the option, I can say if the beast doesn't die, we'll say it that way. If you don't feed the beast long enough, if you starve the beast and it doesn't die when you starve it, it'll only be starved until it gets to the point where it has to break out of the cage and eat, right? At some point, the beast is so hungry, it says, I want my shit, and if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to come take it. At that point, it's out of control. So, do you give it what it wants to maintain control? Or is that just the illusion of control? I'm giving you what you want, so I'm in control, but it's still getting what it wants, right? It's that slithery little. It's the illusion of choice, making you think that you have a choice when you don't. You have to do the same thing one way or another. You don't get a choice. Then I ask myself, Well, one of the other things that I think about is who would I be letting down if I were to start drinking again? Say, you know, I'm going to take a drink. I've been sober for over 4 years. And it's like, you want to give up that streak? You haven't drank for over 4 years, and you want to stop there? Why not 5? Why not 10? Why not 20? Why not? You know, I think about my dad first and foremost. I know he's really proud of me for not drinking. Like it fucking matters. It's one of the things my dad can say he's proud of him. You know, it's, yeah, I get my dad's approval. Rarely get that. Rarely get that. So hold on to anything that gives me that. It's one of the other things not drinking gives me. My father's approval. One of the things that I can say, I did this, my dad will say, I'm proud of you for it. Can't think of many things. Can't think of many things at all. I decided I want to go back to college. Only place my dad went to was, how are you going to do that? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to make that happen? That's a lot to blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a lot of hard work. Are you sure you can blah, 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 blah? Why do I want my dad's approval so much? Why does it fucking matter? And you know, and this is where it gets fucked, is every time that comes up, every time I have that debate in my head about whether or not I even care about having my father's approval and why it even matters and why it's a problem that I didn't really get a lot of it for any, and I, you know, and that I want it and I do things so maybe I can get dad's approval. I think about my time in the cult, conversation with the cult leader, challenging me on, you know, what I would say about my dad, and you know, because he wasn't a great father figure. We'll say that. He wasn't a great father figure. Provided materialistically for me, my brother, my family, which is only, you know, a small piece of it, but he didn't do a good job parenting me. He didn't do a good job fathering me. He didn't do a good job teaching me how to be a man. He didn't. I had to figure that out for myself the hard way. I would argue that I don't even know if I've fully figured that out yet. And I remember in this conversation, you know, I kept defending him. I kept saying, yeah, you know, there were these bad times, and yes, he kind of, you know, made mistakes, and there are a lot of things that he could have done better, and all this and that, but that was then, and this is now, and I don't want to hold a grudge against my dad, and all of that. And you know, it was like, why do you keep defending him though? This is what the cult leader asked me. Why do you keep defending him? Because he's my dad. And for all this, and that's what I said, for all the stuff that he didn't do and all the stuff that he made mistakes on, all the stuff he didn't do wrong, he still did some right. He's not a bad man. He's not a bad person. He wasn't a bad parent. He wasn't great. He wasn't good. He was a good person. He just didn't know how to be a good father figure. I would imagine that's because he didn't have that as a kid. That's how that stuff works. He parented me the best he knew how to based on how his parents parented him. And how can I fault him for that? For doing his best. Maybe it wasn't great, but how can I fault him for doing his best? That's all that I could ask. I couldn't ask any more than doing your best. Well, the best wasn't good enough. Sure, you could say that. But I don't, so ultimately the answer to the question of why are you defending him is because I would want someone to do the same for me when I did my best to do right by someone else. It's earned, it's deserved. A for effort, I guess. Because it could have been so much worse. At least that's what I say. But every time that the reflection comes up in my head about approval, my father, making him proud, not disappointing him, why it matters, why it doesn't, if it matters, if it doesn't. I think about that conversation with a cult leader who was trying to drive a wedge between me and my father. And so it's like the position that I'm put in is that it's almost like if I choose the route of I don't need my father's approval, I don't need to make my father proud, I don't need to worry about him being disappointed in me, none of that stuff matters, then it puts me on the side of the cult leader. And so to stay off that side, it's like I have to, value the opposite, which is, value thy father. Even if it's for no other reason than, trying to undo whatever shit was put in my head by a fucking cult leader. And at that point, it's like, who's really in control? Right? Who's really in control? Thought I saw like a bug fly by or something. Supernatural forces. Sometimes I wonder how truly sane I am. I like to think I am, right? But the truth is, crazy people never think they're crazy. Crazy people think that they're doing absolutely, they're perfectly normal. And that's my cross to bear. How sane am I? We're all a little crazy, right? So I look at proof, and it's in these moments when I say, how sane am I? How sane? I'm not losing my mind, am I? Well, this is what I look at. I recognized when I was getting sucked into a cult in one of the times of the year when I'm most susceptible to delusion. And I got out of it on my own, deprogrammed myself on my own, or at least I like to say so. I did an all right job. Got my life back on track, so to say. Realized that I was at a standstill with the business I was trying to run. So I went and got a job because that's what the responsible adult thing is to do. Dala, don't be an, what is it? Or was it don't act like an asshole? Uh, Dala, don't act like an asshole. Or was it directions? Or directions for acting like an adult. Dala, don't be an asshole. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm sane. And I'm doing fine. And I'm doing stuff. But I have to watch it. But I have to watch it. Oh, 47 minutes. We're coming up on time. 3:30. That's about bedtime. It's about bedtime. So I digress. My life is getting less exciting. And it's never going to be as exciting again as it once was. And I'm having a hard time dealing with that. I'm having a hard time dealing with a boring life. And you can have an exciting life, but that comes with a price tag too. Does it though? Does it? There's plenty of people that move mountains while riding a line of cocaine for months on end. So like, not saying that I want to do cocaine. That was like a really bad example. But all of it to say, a lot of people have done a lot of stuff while getting really fucked up in the process. So, I'm not saying I want to get fucked up or I'm going to get fucked up for all of that. But I don't know. I just need a little. I think that's what it is that I've like become too sane. And I can't take it. It's like it almost it's almost like claustrophobic. the stability is claustrophobic. I don't know how to make sense of that. But that's if I could sum it up into one neat little idea. The stability of sanity is claustrophobic. It's like there's nothing that it's claustrophobic. I feel claustrophobic. I feel locked up, stunted, minimized. Interesting. All right. Well, I'm going to call it. Today is January 20th, Thursday, January 20th, 3:29 a.m. I'm David Joseph Higdon. This is an experiment, episode 37. Signing off. Peace out, bitches.